champions, new Mr. Football winners, and our final Midstate 48 of the season. Welcome in to the Midstate 48 presented by Miracle Auto Group. This is our season finale. This is the last show we're going to do for the 2023 season. Chris Brooks here with you with the rest of the gang. Joe, Scott, Cam, KJ, Eden, fellas.
Evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I think we lost.
Good evening.
He had to do that. He had to do that. You're really supposed to wait until we put the standings up there, but okay, go off.
How are we doing, fellas? Are we doing all right?
All right, champ. I'm going to give you 20 seconds. Go.
It's good to be me. It was a great year. I showed my dominance, as expected. It may have only been one game, but I still won. That's all that matters. Cam lost, Chris lost, Scott lost, and KJ, I like you, man. But sorry, if you had done the full season, you would have lost. So I am the champ. I'm here. And
okay, time's up.
Well, that hurts.
I said 20 seconds and I meant it.
That's nice crown, nice belt. You got the matching pumps to go.
I'm going to bring it back full because I got to see that crown for a second. Is that the that was the one you purchased?
Yeah, this is from Amazon. This is from Amazon.
Okay, that's not the Burger King.
In other words, it's have it your way.
Some gold hoop earrings, and you'd accessorize really well.
I think
get him a big clock to wear around a chain. He'd be Flavor Flav.
You guys are haters.
Hey, we didn't show up.
I will say this. I do just kind of want to show the belt because this is really cool, and I'm not gloating, but like this is a really sweet belt.
Mm-hmm.
It's well done, Chris. You did really well. I'm glad I can hold it for the next 10 years.
How hard they fall.
Took him all 4 seconds to go from.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
Oh my God.
I'll at least take the crown off.
Brian, thank you.
Good because
it doesn't drip, it doesn't ooze, it just explodes
like a Jackson Pollock painting.
Exactly. That's exactly right. So now with all the mutual BS out of the way, let's get to the stuff that we're really here to talk about.
I thought mutual BS is what we did.
Well, our usual BS comes later, but this was impromptu, which is actually kind of the best kind. But a long weekend in Chattanooga, a very wet weekend in Chattanooga when it came to Friday and Saturday. I think my clothes are still drying out from all that mess. We got some new champions though, so let's talk those first, then we'll get to Mr. Football in a little bit. Middle Tennessee Christian, first time champ. That the showdown between Eli Wilson and Tyson Wolcott was as expected. Both played really, really well, but Wilson and the Cougars got the better end of it.
Yeah, Wilson put up 190 plus yards of offense. Had an interception at the end of the half. Had a fumble return for a touchdown. Great performance by Eli. Tyson did everything he could. I mean, he put up 230 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns to end his season with 54 rushing touchdowns. Of course, that's a new state record. Ultimately, Friendship I felt like from the early onset, Middle Tennessee Christian set the tone physically in line play. I felt like Jesse Perry ate up double teams when he was on defense. When he was on offense, they were just mauling people. I mean, they did executed really well in the run game early on and really set the tone early. Was able to get a great play by Brooks Jones to score the first touchdown of the game and kind of get them settled in as a team playing in their first ever state title game. I think that play really settled them down. And from that point forward, the Cougars honestly won that game pretty comfortably.
2 things you can't really do in a championship game, and that is give up big plays and turn the ball over. and that's really what happened with Friendship Christian. They gave up a long run. They gave up the fumble return. They basically gave up a 21-point swing between the second quarter and the beginning of the fourth, where they scored 21 unanswered. And all of that is a recipe for disaster for a team that is primarily a running team and not a come from behind type of team.
Yeah, I mean, you guys nailed it on the head. Eli Wilson played like a man possessed, plain and simple. I mean, it was just impressive. He showed that he should have been a Mr. Football finalist. You could argue Mr. Football winner. We'll get to that later on. But in the end, he didn't win Mr. Football. He got the award that mattered, though. He got the state title. He got the game's MVP. It was just kind of his day, and I think that fumble return in the fourth quarter just kind of epitomized that. I mean, the ball falls directly to him, and he's got wide open field right in front of him. So, well-deserved win for the Cougars. I thought they looked really good last year, and I thought they could be a factor this year, and made the mistake of picking against them yet again. Done that a couple times this year because I'm a fool. They are well-deserved champions, plain and simple.
That fumble that Eli returned, it was almost symbolic because it goes from Walcott right to Wilson. It's like a changing the guard, really, from a defending state champion to a new state champion. It just kind of summed up that game, really. And the catch by Brooks Jones was spectacular. Now you're going to have some people saying it was incomplete. We need replay, but they called it a touchdown. We're going to leave it like that. There's no discussion here. So
it was close.
Yeah, and we can't talk about this game and not mention what a great job Christian Peterson has done with that group this year. Took that job late in the offseason as Coach Tackett went back to Florida. You could tell that everybody on that team was bought in, and was hungry for their first ever state title.
Yep, for sure. Just a congratulations all around to Middle Tennessee Christian. That was a fine performance, and they're a deserving champion. Earlier that day, CPA took care of Boyd Buchanan and got back on top after 2 years of finishing second to Lipscomb Academy, and that was one of the more dominant performances of the weekend.
It was, but Boyd, I thought, played hard, especially in the second half. They did what they could to slow down CPA. Their offense really got going on the ground, but we all thought that CPA was a machine entering the year, and they proved it. I mean, that Pro Cone loss, their only blemish on the year. They had a lot of Division I talent on this team, but then you look at the young guys coming up. Rawls Patterson's going to be a stud. Owen Cabell had a really nice touchdown reception, a huge fourth down reception that led to another touchdown to Jackson Matthews. CPA was just a machine, and I think Boyd's building into that. They got a lot of kids coming back next year, but this was just CPA's year. It was a few teams' years this year, I think.
Yep. A Gary Rankin coach team's not going to stay down for long, and now that they're in that mix for competing for championships in his second year, that's that group, that classification's on notice.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah,
go ahead, Scott.
I was just going to say it's going to take him a little bit to get that program where it needs to be, get those kids in the weight room. There's a lot of size differential between the two teams, and one stat that really stood out to me was the third down conversions. Boyd was only 3 of 13. They struggled to maintain drives, whereas CPA was able to run the ball. I won't say it will, because Boyd's defense was very, very quick. I think they'll be there sooner or later, but they may just be a couple of years away.
Yeah, I mean, y'all pretty much hit everything on the nail on the head. D2 AA definitely needs to be on notice. Boyd Buchanan is here. Yes, they were undersized, but you could tell with their grit and their tenacity and playing bigger than their size. That program is hungry to continue winning gold balls for Coach Rankin, and I don't think it will be a very long time before they win one.
I think most teams would have been undersized against CPA this year.
Yep.
Maybe, yeah. Point taken.
There's a photo that I don't remember who. It might have been mine. I don't remember. But seeing John Wayne Oliver blocking a Boyd Buchanan defender who was easily a foot shorter than him was, very symbolic of that mismatch.
It looked like a dad picking up his kid. I mean,
almost.
honestly,
To be fair, John Wayne Oliver was probably the biggest, most physical offensive lineman there all weekend. So
yeah. KJ, I want to hear from you too. Hop in here.
The CPA game, I watched that one. I think they did a great job on defense, and that's, that I know I say it a lot. That's my forte, so I kind of pay attention more on the defensive side. They created a couple turnovers that really helped them in the long run.
Yeah, we didn't talk much about that defense. I mean, the offensive line really was the catalyst there, but CPA's defense was. It's been like it has been pretty much all year long. I mean, their only loss only gave up 15 points to Pearl Cone, so it's not like that unit was a slouch because they weren't. But good job for Ingle Martin's lines. I mean, that's they were building to that after the last 2 years of disappointments, and now here they are on top and going to be looking to repeat next year. The other. We'll talk briefly about Macaulay Baylor because, I mean, that atmosphere was second to none, given, being in Chattanooga, being an in-city matchup, and that crowd there was electric, and the game lived up to it, too.
Oh, yeah.
The number I keep hearing is 17 being in attendance, and that's probably about right. Capacity was 20,415, and for the most part, just the top corners on each side were a little bit open, but what an atmosphere. And ultimately the team that made the least amount of mistakes in that one won it, and that's what happens when you get two great football teams.
I think there was more than 17 people there. Cam, come on.
I think the backbreaker in this one was really that touchdown 15 seconds before half that Carson Gentle got from Jay St. Hilaire. It really put them up 27-21 going into halftime. But you look at the game and you realize there was almost 900 yards of offense in this game. It was a tremendous offensive output, and I tell you what, Jay St. Hilaire, he proved it. He didn't have anything to prove to me, but I could see he is SEC ready. He made reads that that were just, astounding. He moved the pocket. He did a tremendous job. Offensively, they did a great job. 6 of 11 on third downs. They, had 30 minutes of possession. Offensively, they were a machine. They were a well-oiled machine.
Let's move forward to Friday. And a game that got pretty much everybody talking in one way or another was that Alcoa East Nashville game, that 3A game. Good fight from East Nashville, but Alcoa was just a little bit too much for him. And the Tornadoes win number 9 in a row. And we've mentioned kind of our feelings on Alcoa being in 3A and competing for those championships. But East Nashville, we'll talk about them because what Damian Harris did in his first year over there, it was an exceptional job considering how many key players they lost from last year's team.
Yeah, shout out Keelan Anderson. He had a run towards the end of the game, 99 yards, that's a state record. It just shows the fight that he's coming back. East Nashville is really young, so they've got a lot of talent coming back, and they're eventually gonna get over Alcoa. I just don't know if it's 1 year out or 2, but their time's coming soon for sure.
You mentioned that Keelan Anderson run. It's a state championship record, 99-yarder there in the fourth quarter. And hard to beat that kind of memory, even though you lose a football game like that. You set a state record.
And he set one that won't ever be broken.
No. Not unless they decide to go to the CFL rules.
Right.
Yeah, they can only be tied right now.
You mentioned it. We just won't talk about Alcoa. It's not impressive at this point. So East Nashville, kind of what I figured. I mean, young team. They looked a little rattled with the early mistakes. They were able to settle in. They ran the football pretty well against that front. I mean, when you consider the guys that Alcoa was able to get into that program, you know, Keelan Anderson, KJ Johnson even had some good runs before he went out with an ankle injury. But Keelan Anderson, a sophomore, when's the last time Alcoa's had somebody rush for 260 yards against them?
Yeah.
You know, it's just an outstanding performance. Again, Damian Harris, great first year. I think, you know, first thing he told us is you can't make those mistakes against a team like that. And ultimately, that's the same thing happened to him last year. So it's just a young team working through mistakes. And if East Nashville can get another shot at Alcoa and just play them clean, you know, who knows what happens.
Well, they had a little difficulty because they kept having to play from behind the chains, and the weather. I don't think it helped. Martez Lamb was only 2 of 10, passing. So being able to make up ground was a problem, and I honestly believe it affected their offense because East Nashville relies on a lot of speed. Would it have made the game difference? No, but would it have made the game a little closer? Quite possibly. This is you're playing the Tornado, and you have to be flawless when you play them because you're playing one of the best dynasties in Tennessee history.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote about Alcoa. There was a heavy response to that. I want to first off say this. This is not a disrespect to the 3A teams that they've been playing. I think all those teams are worthy of being in the state championship. And if we're being real, Alcoa is not there. These last year, East Nashville could have 2 to 3 titles. Simple as that. It's not even a dig at Alcoa. That's a team that's built up of 5A, 6A players. I mean, at this point, they're playing out of region teams that are 5, 6A teams. I just don't get the appeal of winning at this level anymore for them. That's just my personal opinion on it. I think East Nashville had a hell of a year. Simple as that. I think they're going to be really good with all those guys coming back. You lose a guy like Jordan Houston, that's going to hurt. But the way they rebuild, they just find that next guy to step up. And then you got those running backs and KJ and Keelan. The future is very, very bright for East Nashville, and I think we see a 4th game next year between the two.
Yeah, and real quick before we get off this game, you mentioned the guy, Jordan Houston. If there is any coaches that watch this show at any point in time, college coaches, go get that guy. You will not find a linebacker with the size, the speed, the physicality that, is available to just about anybody right now at the moment. He's going to be a steal for somebody. Make that somebody you.
Yep. I'm not going to speak too much again on Alcoa, but I will say this. I would like to see them play up against 4A or 5A competition. It would make it so much easier for the entire state to root them on.
Yeah.
In that situation, because they are going to be a bit of an underdog. And people want to see that because they want to see best on best. And right now we're not getting that.
Well, I mentioned it in the media room. Man, an Alcoa Pearl-Cohn game this year, that would have been money.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah.
Well-deserved champions, though. They played an incredible year. They beat Knox West. They barely lost to Maryville. Alcoa's Alcoa. Until somebody knocks them off, you ain't picking against them in 3A.
Mm-mm. That's the case, and that's all we need to really say about it. We'll go. Do we want to touch on that 1A game between South Pitt and McKenzie? Because
one word, sloppy.
Ugly defensive game. Kudos to South Pitt for finding something in the 4th quarter. I don't know how McKenzie didn't adjust to it personally. It's kind of crazy to watch that, but they gave South Pitt more of a game than I think a lot of people probably predicted. So I think McKenzie, they lose a lot, but I think they'll be back next year. They got a really good quarterback returning, and they seem to always, these last couple of years, they've seemed to find a way to just kind of reload. So South Pitt loses a lot, but they're a 1A power at this point.
South Pitt's quarterback goes down, and they pretty much go to student body right Wildcat, and that you see that a lot in the small school ranks. And in our state, particularly, teams get the ball in their best players' hands, and here we come, stop us if you can. And, they just made a couple more plays than McKenzie.
Well, they allowed McKenzie to hang around. They had 3 fumbles that they lost at McKenzie, and you could say McKenzie, forced them, and rightfully so. In a game like that, in the weather like that, that's what the defense does. It's got to make plays and knock balls out. So, yeah, I'm one of the few who picked McKenzie because I thought that defensively they could hang, and they did. It just turns out they ran out of time at the end of that game. But yeah, as you said, sloppy game. KJ, did you get a shot to look at that game? You're on mute.
I watched a little bit of that game. I had a final that day, so didn't really catch much of it. But what I did see was McKenzie defensively keeping up with South Pitt, and it was interesting for a while. I just didn't watch the end of that game.
Hey, finals priorities, dude.
Yeah.
Hey guys, enjoy college, but study.
Yep, exactly. There you go. I guess we got to talk 5A because that game was the game of the weekend.
Yeah,
Knox West and Page, and I know our Page faithful listening to them watching this didn't like the outcome, but when you step back and look at that from just a football fan standpoint, that ball game gave you everything you wanted.
Close.
This was a game last year where Page just got absolutely dominated in the second half. And then this year, you take away those 2 big touchdown passes, Page is the better team.
Mm-hmm.
Page is the better team that night. They outplayed them in the second half. When Page scored those second half touchdowns, they did it with ease. They get down 24-7. They march right down the field. William Weebush strolls into the end zone. They have another just really easy scoring drive, and then like that, it's a 5-point game in the fourth quarter, and then they march down the field again. They get in the 5. They turn it over on downs.
Let's give a little credit here to Jonathan Palmer because he had the 3 interceptions, but in the second half, when he started using his legs and not forcing things, that Page offense took off.
Yeah. He played a well game in the second half. They found something with his legs, and they utilized it. Knox West didn't have an answer for it. But then their last 2 drives of the game, if that's how you lose, that's just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, two really big moments in the game, and unfortunately for Page, they both went against them. At the end of the first half, it's 10-7. Knox West throws a swing pass, a little out route, and Brendan Ains is able to pick it off. And honestly, if he catches it cleanly, it's a pick 6. And he bobbles it enough for the receiver to recover and take it away from him.
Yeah.
And literally, I think it was 2 plays after that, on the last play of the half, Knox West hits a Hail Mary from about the 40-yard line on the last play of the half to make it 17-7 at half instead of 10-7. And then, Joe, as you just mentioned, 2 chances inside the 5 with under 6 minutes to go, and you get stuffed both times. Some mental errors there, player-wise, and ultimately at the last possession, having to use that timeout to not get a too many men on the field penalty really hurt them in that sequence. They felt rushed. You'd almost would have rather seen them spike the ball after that on that third down play and really get settled instead of that rushed effort on the last play. But that's really easier said than done in a moment like that where you're just really rushing to try to get a playoff and try to win that thing.
Well, Palmer wasn't even in for those last couple plays. Weebush, they were out of timeouts, and so didn't get a chance.
I was able to be right next to Coach Rathbone in that sequence, and they called for their heavy package, and they changed their mind right at the last second, and none of the kids heard him. So they had about 16 or 17 guys on the field at one time right there. Play clock running down. He has to use his last time out. Just a unfortunate turn of events, having to use that timeout and then, being rushed. on those attempts. But ultimately, you have to give credit to Knox West too. They bent but didn't break on both of those drives. Page was able to move the ball inside the 5 both times, and Knox West made a couple more plays than Page did.
Yep. Well, we talked about this may be the toughest defense that Page would go up against, but you look at the stat line and you realize just how much Page's offense dominated this game offensively. 19-8. They over doubled them up on first downs. Defense played great, held them to 73 yards rushing. Everything. It's 369 offensive yards, so 183 for West. Everything on this, if you were looking at the stat line, you would have thought that Page didn't win, won going away. But you got to give credit to Knox West. They made plays when they had to. End of the half, they get that 37-yard touchdown pass. Their defense stands up to 2 drives in the red zone, at the end of the game. In fact, they were, those 2 were the most important because they had were only 50%. Page was only 50%, 2 for 4 in the red zone.
Yeah, and you take away even one of those turnovers in the first half, and this looks like a whole different thing. Probably, Page, their first series was driving in and trying to score and get one picked off the goal line, and it's just tough. But awesome effort. Just didn't come up with enough points to get that one. Page looks going to look good for next year. That defense is going to be nasty again with Hazard and Naines coming back, and could be a nightmare for 5A.
You and I looked at it after the game, and we were just like, man, this is Pearl Cone.
Mm-hmm.
This is Pearl Cone all over again because Pearl has that heartbreaking loss in the championship last year. Yep. They come out this year with it. Don't get me wrong, Page loses quite a bit. They're going to have to replace some guys, Ethan Cunningham, Ronan O'Connell, Jonathan Palmer. But the way Coach Rathbone has this program built up, it's going to be scary times in 5A next year.
Yeah.
I interviewed Brendan Ains after the game. He's crying and everything. And I asked him, I was like, how much motivation does this serve for you going into the next year? And he immediately straightened up and got this serious look on his face. And he's like, it's the best motivation ever. And then he's like, we're coming back next year. We're winning it. And just, it was kind of scary, the look on his face, not going to lie. It's going to be scary next year. That defense, especially, it's. I wouldn't want to go against them.
It's funny.
Yeah, one thing I would like to see out of Page next year. You mentioned a couple of the guys that they are losing. Ronan and Ethan Cunningham and the Palmer kid at quarterback. I think you got to try to see Brendan Ains at running back a little bit next year. Played a little bit as a sophomore at running back. Definitely look for William Weebush to take over at quarterback next year going forward. And maybe Page transitions into a very power run heavy offense to go along with that physical defense because the defense ain't going nowhere.
Yeah. Joe, funny you mentioned Pearl Cone because that's where we're going next. I mean, from the heartbreak of Page that Friday night to joy and elation for Pearl Cone on Saturday. And, theirs wasn't easy either. I mean, we all sat here and admittedly thought this was going to be possibly a runaway. Upperman made it anything but.
Upperman led 7-0 at the half before Pearl finally got going. A lot of questionable calls in this game for both sides. Let's be real.
Mm-hmm.
Some questionable calls in the first half. Kept Pearl out of the end zone. Really questionable 2-point conversion call at the end against Upperman. But this was one of the best games of the weekend. I got to give Upperman a lot of credit. They played Pearl harder than any other 4A team has. This was Pearl's stiffest test since that NBA game or CPA game earlier in the year. But they weathered that storm. Pearl.
And we lose Joe.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and pick up where Joe.
Oh, he's back.
Oh, there he is.
Oh. Hi, how are you? Zion Simpson-Smith really balled out in that game. He had an incredible game. He got Darius Reed going. Javion Kennard, I think he may have gotten dinged up a little bit. I'm not sure. He was limited, but he had a couple big plays too. And that onside kick at the end, I'll let somebody else talk about it because, man, I still can't get over that play.
Yeah. My thing is, I mean, I don't even think Pearl played their best game that game. There was still a lot of mental errors that they made, and they finally got what they wanted, and it was a great sight to see. I'm still scared to see what the Firebirds bring back next year, and if they could play a complete game.
Ultimately, earlier in the week, last week, I said on a message board forum that the team in this matchup, they're two stylistically different teams. The team that would be able to drag the other one into their style of play would win this game. And ultimately, we saw two halves where the other team was successful at doing that. Mm-hmm. The first half, Upperman dragged Pearl into that slow slugfest, low-scoring half with Upperman leading 7-0 at halftime. And in the second half, it was wide open. And that definitely favored the Firebirds. Zion was able to get the run game going. They were able to hit a couple big plays. The rain slacked up just a little bit for one drive where Darius Reed, showed up with two big plays, like a 25-yard screen pass and then a jump ball over Upperman's best defender in Bronson Turnbow. But ultimately, Pearl Cone scored 36 points and a half. And, yeah, you can say anything you want about a controversial 2-point play. And was it controversial? Yeah. If we had replay in the state championship game like we had to, it's probably 29-29. But who's to say that they were able to stop Pearl? I think if you ask most Upperman people and most people from the Upper Cumberland, they would agree that they had no answer for Pearl in the second half.
No.
Well, Upperman played a really good game. They came out with a solid game plan. First half, they ran it to perfection. Pearl hurt themselves, whether deservedly or not, with penalties. They ended up with 16 for 116 yards, Upperman only had 3 penalties on the day. I'll talk about that later. But, this was a game that screamed for replay. That 2-point conversion was, I've looked at it several different ways. I lean towards he was in, but it would have been interesting to see where that game went from there. Pearl, just couldn't be stopped in the second half. Coach Brunetti, I'm not sure what he said, and I do know that Gracian Beach was very vocal in the locker room at halftime, and he, being out with the injury. So the leader stepped up in that second half, and I think that Pearl, essentially willed themselves to this. They've been so close for so long that I think that, they willed themselves into this win, and you could see it. You could see it at the end of the game, the emotion, just the raw emotion on the sidelines over there, and the elation on that side and the heartbreak on the other. Unfortunately, for every up, there's a down. But this, what was going on the Pearl sidelines was incredibly emotional.
Yeah, Joe, you mentioned that onside kick. Marion Starnes, a sophomore, scoops it up and just makes a mad dash for the end zone to essentially put that game away.
That was a gutsy move.
That was just unbelievable speed. I mean, that's a sophomore making the decision to be like, hey, the ball's coming to me and I'm just going to bolt.
Yep. And like you're saying, as a sophomore, that is a gutsy move because you boot that. Most times you're going to be to the edge of cautious. Now, he was all the way in.
Full head of steam.
Yep.
It was impressive. Just the presence of mind.
Yep.
I mean, if I made that decision, I'm sitting next to Crabtree. Just gonna be honest.
If you score, I'm sure it would be like, great job,
I'd still be.
KJ.
Yeah, I'd still
Don't
be
do
No,
that
saying
it would
again.
be 100%. It would be great job, but don't ever do that again.
That's actually accurate. That's actually real. I think the only time I scored in a varsity game was my senior year, and I scored, didn't get on extra or a kickoff because it was like an 88-yard, and I was just gassed. He looked at me, he says, "Are you not on field goal anymore?" I said, "I can't breathe." Never miss the special teams ever again.
2A,
Yeah, well,
East Robertson comes up short against Riverside.
They'll be back.
I really would have liked to see how this game played out in clearer weather, because I think it would have helped both teams. I mean, we got a 13-7 game, and I don't think that reflects much about what either team is, honestly.
no.
Got so many offensive weapons on both. Riverside took advantage of it. They were in this position last year where they came up just short against a team that everybody kind of predicted was going to win. I really thought this was a toss-up of a game. I thought they were very evenly matched. Desmond Thomas, he missed some time earlier this year with an injury. I'm just happy to see him go out a champion, honestly. He's a good kid. I like Johnny Frost over at Riverside. Yeah, East Robertson, they couldn't get their offense going like they usually do. Desmond Thomas really defensively played a good game, but Isaiah Groves couldn't get going as much as they probably wanted him to. But man, East brings back a ton next year, guys. It's another revenge tour.
Yeah, they were able to Riverside was able to keep Isaiah from getting to the third level. You know, he very rarely made it past the linebackers. You know, and ultimately East Robertson's whole season came down to mistakes. You know, if they were able to limit the mistakes, they were beating teams comfortably. But the games where they had mistakes, whether it be turnovers or penalties or anything in between, you know, that's the games where they had issues. And ultimately they had an untimely penalty late in the game. You know, Elijah Groves recovers a fumble with about 5.5 to go, 4.5, 5.5 minutes to go. They were able to get the ball to the Riverside 21. They had it second and 9 at the 21, and a 15-yard chop block moves them back into passing downs. And it was not passing weather on Saturday. If you watched the game, you know, just basically took the game out of Isaiah's hands at that point because of the 15-yard penalty. So ultimately, just some untimely penalties really done in the Indians.
Yeah, Cam, you brought that up. The penalties were a tremendous problem. East Robertson had double the amount of penalties. They had 10 for 110 yards. Riverside had 5 for 35, I believe. Coming at the wrong time, and usually it seemed like it was right after a good play. Same thing happened to Pearl. It's amazing that you know, the amount of penalties called against Midstate teams were, I think, 450 yards or so against Midstate teams, 120, 100 and some 100 and something against teams outside of the area. So, you know, it was really interesting to see the discrepancy in the penalties being called on these games. But I mean, East, it wasn't. You're right. It wasn't passing weather. It was a flipping monsoon out there. But you know, East, you know, the third downs killed them. The inability to sustain drives killed them. They were only 4 of 11 on third downs, and that's ultimately what cost them, was the inability to keep drives going, whether it be by penalties or just not being able to move the ball.
Yeah, the weather on Saturday just didn't get any better for that night game, Oakland, Houston, and probably the surprising result of the weekend was just how much this was not. I mean, it was 17-9 with a couple minutes left, but it did not feel like it was a close game.
It honestly felt like. Oh, go ahead, Scott.
No. Go.
It honestly felt like Oakland was handled up front. I mean, Houston came out and shocked everyone. There was a lot of controversy in a 615 Preps comment section, and when we can admit it, we're wrong. We were wrong. We picked Oakland, and we were wrong. But it happens.
This is during this because I just want to see the faces because we know
It
where we are,
happens.
but it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, we would have been fools not to pick Oakland.
Yeah.
Simple as that. We covered Midstate. These are our teams. We've seen Oakland dominate teams. They lost a couple of close games. They lost to one of the best teams in Indiana. They lost a heartbreaker to Riverdale, and then they beat Riverdale 3 weeks later, 56-0. They went on the road to the Bradley Central and beat Bradley Central, an undefeated team that they considered to be best in the state. They ran into a Houston team that had done just as much and probably better. We just didn't know much about them because they're out in Memphis, and Houston's run to the title is impressive. Germantown, Collierville, Brentwood, Oakland. I think they gave up 26 points in total during the postseason. That's really impressive. And as good as their defense was in that monsoon, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Damon Cisa is what
Damon Cisa.
Cisa dominated that game. He was the best player on that field. Once he got to the edge, Oakland didn't have the speed to keep up with them. It was a really impressive game by Houston. They deserved it. I know Oakland scored the opening touchdown of the game, but I was on that Houston sideline after Houston punted the ball away at first. Those guys were not fazed. They said, all right, that's fine. We missed this one. Let's go back out there next drive and get it. They did just that. They marched down the field after Oakland scored. And from there, I mean, they just kind of dominated. It wasn't really even close. I know Oakland had a couple turnovers that went against them, but it was Houston's night. Simple as that.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, the first drive, I believe it was the first drive in the second half, Oakland looked like Oakland and got inside right about the 40-yard line driving into Houston and fumbled the ball. And, that's the mistakes that, you can have in the big game, so to speak. But for the most part, KJ said it. Joe, you had a good comparison on the weekend that we haven't mentioned yet. Last year against CPA.
Mm-hmm.
One of those games where it just felt like Oakland, as KJ said, got manhandled up front. Oakland couldn't run the ball quite as well as what we're used to. And then defensively, Oakland's got a really good linebacker in Corey Smith, a couple of really good secondary guys, Stephen Ellison and a couple other guys. But Houston was winning the chess match. They were getting numbers outside and, running unconventional counters. They're lining up in a 3-by-1 shotgun, running a counter to the one side where he takes a step to the right and then cuts it all the way back to the sideline on the left and just uses his speed to get out there. And, he's got 8 or 10 yards every time. So, I mean, it just seemed like Oakland was beat. They were beat in just about every phase of the game.
Yeah, I think, Cam, you hit on it, and that is that Houston had a game plan that they came out and executed, especially defensively. Given the rain, they were bound and determined to not let Oakland's running game beat them and force Oakland into doing the one thing they didn't want to do, especially in the rain, which is pass the ball. If you look at the score, it was very close until the third quarter. Well, I mean, until the fourth quarter, it was only a 1-point game at the end of the third. But then Houston comes out. The weather is atrocious, and Cisa goes off again. And now they've got an 8-point lead, and Oakland is forced to do what Oakland does not want to do, and that is play from behind and play with some desperation. And when they did that, it eventually cost them with the interception return for a touchdown, but they also had another one, I believe, in that stretch. You got to take your hat off to Houston. Yeah. They executed their game plan. They played very well, and they ran the ball. And let me tell you, as Joe said, that Damon Cisa, we didn't see him, and we didn't see enough of him. He absolutely has game-changing speed.
Yep, certainly does. And Houston was certainly worthy of winning it. We've taken our sweet time getting through these 9 championship games and running them back. But one more little bit of business before we take a break. Let's talk player of the week from the BlueCross Bowl. And we did it a little different this week. We did not open it to fan voting. We're going to honor these kids ourselves, and let's just do it. One of our winners, Cruz Law from CPA, 9 carries, 121 yards and a touchdown, had 2 solo tackles and 7 assists on defense. And he wasn't done with the hardware, as we'll talk about here in a bit. But we're honoring multiple players this week. Cruz Law just had that big early touchdown run that set the tone against Boyd Buchanan, and paved the way for CPA to go win that state title. Eli Wilson, MTCS, 17 carries, 190 yards and a touchdown. 3 solo tackles, 2 assists, had a tackle for a loss, had an interception, and then where that fumble return for a touchdown to put the game away. And one of the most impressive performances of the weekend belonged to Eli Wilson. Our next honoree, Keelan Anderson, we talked about his 99-yard touchdown run, just part of a 25-carry, 258-yard day with 2 touchdowns, even though it wasn't a losing effort. Hard to keep Keelan Anderson as a player of the week winner off his list. So
couldn't stop him on the field. Can't stop him here.
Nope, not at all. And then Zion Simpson-Smith, 15 carries, 181 yards, 2 touchdowns, and then 5 solo tackles and 4 assists on the defensive side. One of the biggest reasons that Procone was able to play from behind and win that 4A title game over Upperman. So all 4 of those young men are Miracle Auto Group players of the week for the BlueCross Bowl championship week, and we've got some hardware to distribute amongst that quartet. So congratulations to those 4. Not just one line of the week, but now lines of the week.
I like that.
More than one. And just like Eli Wilson, that Middle Tennessee Christian offense is going to be one of those. And they had a big night or big afternoon opening holes for him and for that MTCS offense that was able to beat Friendship Christian in that Division II single A championship game. And Procone's offense is the other line of the week, in their effort against Upperman. So congratulations to those teams and those players. We've got some hardware to distribute during this holiday season, and we'll get up there as soon as we can and make those presentations to those players. And congratulations to all of our players of the week from the season, presented by Miracle Auto Group. Scott?
I was just saying, they kind of look like the logo. This shot looks like the logo.
Maybe a little bit. I'm going to have to use that for next year.
Yeah.
Now that we bring that up. But we are well overdue for a break, and we're going to take one now and hear from Miracle Auto Group.
Hi, everyone. It's Jim Galvin, Miracle Ford, your Ford dealer in Gallatin, Tennessee since 1980. Great news. Beginning now. When you need service, we can come to you.
Our mobile service van comes to you wherever you are. Whether you need oil change, lube, routine maintenance, warranty, filters, wiper blades, batteries, bulbs, recalls, and more.
Visit our website
or call us now.
Are you ready for a miracle?
Yeah, just want to add in 2 things real quick. Christmas time, Toys for Tots boxes at both Miracle Chrysler and Miracle Ford. So if you have the capabilities to donate for Toys for Tots, you can do so at both Miracle locations. Also, we are doing a giving tree. So what that is when you come in and buy a new vehicle at Miracle Chrysler or Miracle Ford, you will pick a set of wings off the giving tree, and you have, by buying a new car, you have helped sponsor a family in need for Christmas.
That's good stuff.
Oh, that's great stuff.
Yep. Well, let's talk Mr. Football, because those award winners were announced yesterday in Nashville at Nissan Stadium as the Tennessee Titans put on their annual awards banquet. And Midstate was a little light on winners if you had to ask this panel about how many we thought they'd get. just to be completely honest.
Yep.
A little
But
late.
we'll go through those winners first. Class 1A, Moore County's Dawson White was that recipient. East Robertson's Isaiah Groves in 2A. Sheffield's were Darius Jackson in 3A. Pearl Cone's Keyshawn Tarleton in 4A. 5A went to Southwind's Kelvin Perkins. 6A to Bradley Central's Boo Carter. And Division II Single A, it's Jackson Christian's Jalen Mosley. Cruz Law from CPA in Division II AA, and then AAA went to Amari Jefferson from Baylor, with Knoxville Hall's Owen Taylor winning the Kicker of the Year award. 3 out of 10.
Yeah, so are we going to do this the way we're supposed to do this and just say no comment?
I'm
Joe, go.
I think every kid that won is they're a finalist for a reason, and they're deserving. There's no doubt about it. You cannot bash the kids for this. They are finalists. They all had great years. I'm just going to repeat what I've been saying. This should not just be a regular season award. The fact that it is it's a joke. What are we doing? Make it full season at this point. I saw people commenting, well, you're penalizing kids that don't get to the playoffs, yada, yada, yada. They get injuries happen. It's football. We saw it last year with Kenny Minchey. Kenny Minchey probably a Mr. Football finalist last year if he doesn't get hurt. He got hurt. You got a kid, and the big one that a lot of people are talking about is Walcott not being D2A, and I get it. You're going based off the regular season. He ran for 2,400 yards, over 30 touchdowns. I've been saying for weeks that I thought it was him and Jalen Mosley, and Eli Wilson is a finalist. He should have been a finalist. Don't know how he wasn't. That's a different story. Jalen Mosley, a third of his catches went for touchdowns. He's very deserving. But he unfortunately suffered an injury and did not play in the postseason. Whereas Walcott, while he did not win state, went on to rush for the 7th most yards in state history, shattered the touchdown record for the season. How it's not a full season award is baffling to me. How you don't take into account the competition level in some classes is baffling to me. I just think there are issues with it, and personally, I'd like to see changes done to where the award means more, because you got people outraged the last couple of years. I look at Malachi Dow last year. Don't know how he wasn't 5A. I thought the Carnes kid had a great year last year, but man, Dow ran for the 2nd most yards all time. And if he hadn't gotten hurt, he would have broken that record in the regular season potentially. So changes need to happen, but I do want to say congratulations to each and every one of the winners. They're all deserving finalists. They all are there for a reason. They all had great regular seasons. A lot of them had great postseasons as well, and a lot of them led their teams to the finals and played really well. This isn't just us saying because we had a couple kids miss out in the Midstate. This is just in general, changes need to happen because it's kind of a joke, if we're honest.
So I'll say this as, I guess, nicely as I can. This makes at least the 2nd year in a row, but as we were talking about before we came on the air, they historically have had at least one every year where you're just scratching your head, what are they doing? And, for those of our viewers that don't understand the system and may think that we have a vote, we do not have a vote.
No.
We get to nominate, and that is it.
Yep.
There is a committee out there that votes on that. And, historically, we were talking about this before we came on the air. Historically, this thing is a popularity contest. If a kid has a bunch of SEC offers against a kid like Tyson Walcott, the kid with the SEC offers is probably going to win the award. And that is not the way it should be.
Yeah. Traditionally, this committee, I'd like to say, is like the college football playoff committee.
Low blow.
I mean, last year,
No,
let's be
fair.
real. Darius Johnson, everyone knows that's my friend, but like he was getting it done on offense and defense, and he was not a finalist. Took his team to a state championship as a true 5A school in a 6A bracket. Just something we need to look into.
Well, we did last year. We gave him. He was our award winner.
Part of the reason that our postseason honors, are full season awards, because we can't discount the most important games of the year. And that argument that it's punishing kids whose teams don't make the playoffs, well, sorry, it's an individual award, not a team award. That's life. Get over yourself.
Well, yeah. The thing that and Joe brought it up. There's a disparity in a lot of region games. Some regions are stronger than others.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, when you get to the playoffs, you're playing like competition. You're playing teams that had to win. And that's why it's important that you take those games into account, because you get to see like on like. And that's why we do what we do, because, we want to see, is this kid as good as, against a playoff team as he was against the competition? If we take the regular season into account too, if somebody's got a strong region but doesn't quite make it, but stands out, then that player's going to be in our finalist group for sure, because they're playing tough competition and maybe and they're performing. They may not get to the playoffs, but they get noticed. We do our homework. It's not it's a hard decision. I understand that. I understand that it's a thankless job to make these calls. But in some, there are just some, as Cam said, there were absolutely kind of head scratchers of how somebody didn't get to be a finalist over another one. I'm not going to go into detail because, quite frankly, it's not fair. It's not fair to question whether one person should have got in over another. It's not right to make a kid question whether he was good enough when he won, or even when he got up on that podium. But to say that, to turn your head and say there's not a problem, is doing a disservice as well.
My simple solution for this, if we're going to make it a full season award, you get through the state finals. On Tuesday or Wednesday, the committee gets together. They do a vote together and determine either a consensus winner or a majority winner. Following week, or Friday, you announce the final. I get that they want to do it on the Mike Vrabel show, yada, yada. It's the Tennessee Titans sponsored. Whatever. The following week, you have a banquet. It just baffles me that the postseason is not taken into account. These are the games that matter the most. Simple as that. The regular season, you're going to have a lot of blowout games against teams that are not as good. And kids put up a ton of stats. But if you got a kid that's in the semifinals and they rush for 230 yards, or they have 4 sacks, or they have just a game-changing play at the end of the game to win that game, in that game, or in Eli Wilson's case, you go to the state championship, he's not even a finalist, and he goes in and just does what he does. It's a disservice to the kids. It is. I mean, all these kids work so hard. I think, we can't bash the kids for any of this. That's the biggest thing I say, is I'm not bashing the kids. But I just think changes need to be done, because it's just kind of a weird system. From where I'm from, like, that award doesn't get announced until the entire season's done, and they take it's kind of a career award up there, so it's not really a good example. But there are ways to do it differently, and I just think you're hurting kids down here by not doing it. Even if you don't include them as a finalist.
Yep.
Sorry for the facial expression. Shout out Jalen Gregory. She is on fire right now.
The pride of Lafayette.
Yep.
Yeah.
Probably another one of those losses that Tennessee's going to take that gets Kelly Harper axed at the end of the year.
Yep. It may not be the end of the year, to be honest with you.
No, but I digress. KJ, I know you've got to cut out here early. I want to give you a chance to say something to the folks before you head out. So why don't you go ahead and do that now?
I'm just so grateful that y'all giving me opportunity. Thank y'all for, accepting me, giving me a chance to do this. I actually really enjoy it. I enjoy talking to players. A lot of the players enjoy sharing stories about when we used to play against each other. So that's kind of cool. And, if you don't do anything else this off season, enjoy yourselves. I mean, we won't be back until next year. So you have a lot of time we'll have a catch-up episode next year. So that'll be nice.
Man, thank you for coming on with us. I mean, it's been enjoyable to have you, and you've brought another dimension to this show that we didn't have before, and you brought that cool factor to us that none of the four of us have. So, keep doing you.
Thank you guys so much.
He's a swagger, man.
We'll get you to some basketball games. How about that?
That's right. Yeah.
All right, for sure. I can't
All
wait.
All right. Have a good holiday, man. Thank
you. Guys too.
KJ.
Awesome.
KJ.
Well, he cuts out of here. Let's go ahead and run back the interviews that I did yesterday with the Mr. Football winners. We'll start with Isaiah Groves.
Isaiah, talk to me about it. I mean, it's a big day for you. It's a big day for East Robinson. What does this mean for you personally, first off?
It means a lot because it started from the summer and then putting that work in just to get what I wanted. And the O-line, coaches, thanks for everybody in the community.
All across Plains behind you. I know it's a disappointing way to end the season with a loss in the state title game, but this is kind of some kind of consolation for that.
Yes, sir. It just shows us a lot. Like emotions, you're not gonna win if you don't want it, and then so next year is gonna help us out.
What does this entire season mean to you, from not just a football standpoint, but from a personal standpoint?
It means a lot. Football shows you a lot of stuff, like your relationships and everything. And that was my last time playing with my big brother, unless I played with him in college.
When's it going to sink in, you think, that you missed football in 2A?
It's going to sink. Like next year.
I mean, you guys bring so much stuff back next year. You're going to have another shot at a state title. And how meaningful is that, knowing that you were that close and you can get another shot at it?
Just knowing I was that close, like next year is just going to push us to win it, because that emotion was awful.
What about the community? I mean, you had so much support for Chattanooga. What does that mean for East Robertson and Cross Plains?
Our community is great. Like we might be a small town, but we got a lot of people in it, and it just shows a lot. Because when we won state in basketball, there was a lot of people, and then at the state championship, there's a lot of people.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, real quick, before we go any further, I got to know something from you guys. Between Isaiah, Tyson Walcott, and Eric Hazard, who was the best dressed yesterday that you guys saw?
Oh, man.
This is tough.
Isaiah looked clean. Hazard with the
I'm a sucker for the cowboy hat.
Cowboy hat's that's classic. I had somebody actually text me and say Hazard wearing a cowboy hat. I love it. So Walcott, they all represented well.
Give me what the jacket Isaiah was. I mean, he looked smoking in that jacket.
Yeah, he looked clean.
Yep. No, Walcott with the all green suit, though, shout out there too, because he pulled that off pretty well. But
they need to retire his number.
Yeah.
That'd be a good way to do it right there.
I think
Keyshawn Tarleton. Go ahead, Joe.
I was just saying, I think he's the epitome of friendship Christian football at this point.
Yep. Well, let's see what Keyshawn had to say.
Celebration from Saturday come down at all.
Oh, no, sir. We just going to turn it up until we can't no more. We just going to keep turning it up.
It's just going to add to it.
Yes, sir.
How did most of you do you since then? I mean, it's just such a big deal for Emerald College, from Metro Nashville to win a state title. How you felt so far?
I just been trying to take it all in, just trying to get all the memories that I had from freshman year into now. Cause this is a big moment for me too. because I ain't never won a state championship or never won a championship in my football career. So it's like a big moment for me. It's a big moment for my teammates and stuff. And I'm just being happy and just taking it all in.
You know, you're a finalist with Zion. I mean, what's that like having a teammate as a finalist, seeing him not win it, but then you have that emotion of winning Mr. Football? What's it like?
It feels good, but I know he always will have a smile for me. I'm always have a smile for him in any moment. It can be ups and downs, but yeah, I know he just got a big smile for me.
Talking about the changes.
The chain, it's a friend. Well, my brother gave it to me just right now, so I can wear it. But it's a friend that he knows, and she's just very close to him. And she passed away a couple years ago, and he just got his chain just to keep her in memory and stuff.
I know I remember looking at you guys after last year's championship game and the looks of your face and said that you'll be back. And not only were you back, you had really vengeance. I mean, how did completing that comeback story and getting that redemption last year feel for you?
The coaches being on our tail, being on our butt, at school, on our grades, outside of school, on the field. They just being on our tail hard. They just being on us hard because they know what we can do and what we great at. Like, they know we can go get that gold ball. They know we can go back to winning. So they just been hard on us the whole season. They don't want no MAs. They don't want nothing. Like, all of this stuff should be fixed by the playoffs. So that's what the coaches been on us hard. And by the time playoffs came, everything was just perfect. So we had a couple flags and stuff, but everything else was just perfect. Like, nobody panicking and stuff in big situations. So everybody was just being calm and just being perfect.
Look back on these last few days, say, 5-10 years down the line, what do you remember the most about it?
Us winning that gold ball and me being on this team, in this class 2024. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, that the energy's still there with Keyshawn and that whole Procon program. I mean, big 4 days for them.
Yeah, and they added another award today. Gracion Beach was named the Hume Award winner today, which is it's a huge honor. So I mean, it's just award season just keeps on adding on for the Firebirds, and well deserved.
Mm-hmm. And it may not be over with yet.
Yeah, Cruz Law. Also talked to him and got the interview loaded up for you right now.
State title that these guys have. So how you feeling now that the thrill with that has kind of come down a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, so it's still a great feeling, just knowing, but people move on, like life moves on. So just being able to soak it all in, but then just get to focus on just enjoying these last few months of high school with all my guys is now really the main focus for me. But yeah, it was a fun week for sure.
I know this is really icing on the cake for what was a special season, but what's this year going to mean to you when you think about it down the line?
Yeah, just kind of getting to be a part of a group that all cares for each other so much, that everybody trusts each other, getting to know that if I make a mistake, that Steele's going to cover for me, or Weston, like just anybody has my back. It's kind of special. And then just kind of all the relationships I've made is going to go a lot farther than just remembering like the games we won. Just knowing all the bonds I've made, they're going to set it up down the road for lifetime. It's more special to me.
You know, the disappointment of the last 2 years in the state title game, you guys were able to get over that. But how did that kind of prepare you all for this year?
Yeah, so I feel like you got a no loss to really enjoy the win. So, I mean, we knew loss for sure. We lost it 2 years in a row, and that kind of just put a chip on us. I think it kind of affected the way we practice. We practice every single day, like it could be taken away from us at any time. So just to kind of keep that chip on your shoulder and just be able to go out and grind with your guys, then it was special.
A lot of pride in the families that have gone through CPA. I know you, your brother and everything. Just how special has this been the last couple of years, getting to play with him and then him watching you win a title in football?
Yeah, so it's been super special, especially the years getting to play with him. Even my freshman year, just getting to be on his team that he was leading. Just getting to see him win MVP was awesome. That was like one of the most special moments for me. And then getting to play with him, just being on the same field as him, just us pushing each other. That's the stuff that really means a lot. When you know you got a guy that's your brother, but is also your best friend that's pushing you every day, and you get to push them and just get to celebrate each other's accomplishments together. It's special.
When did you guys kind of had that feeling like all of this was possible? Was there a point in time where you kind of thought that?
So as little kids, it was always our dream, and we always said that we were going to get it done. And then we knew that there was something special about us as we played the game. And so, I mean, I guess going into high school when we both started performing, we knew that it was achievable. We knew all along that it was achievable, and we knew what it was going to take. And then just the gifts that God's blessed us with that we can go out and play this stuff. He blessed us with some great attributes to our game. So just thankful for that. So,
what do you take away most from this season when you look back at it?
Yeah, I just say how close like our senior group got through just the stuff last year, just losing some games, losing the state championship. We decided that we were gonna be the tightest group to come through here, and we really just poured into each other. So just seeing all the guys just really buy in and just put our trust in each other was really special.
Yeah, congratulations on a fantastic season.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, another special year for him and for that CPA family. And yeah, that they had been, I think, was 8 or 9 years since they had a Mr. Bowl winner over at CPA in
2014.
2014. Yeah, Crew is very deserving of it for sure.
Yeah.
And that hair, I wish I had that. I'll tell you what, there were some quaffs out there. I can remember those days. They're all memories now.
Well, we got to take one more break. Let's hear from our fine playoff sponsor from Python. I want to thank Python for our playoff sponsorship for this year. It's been helpful there, and glad to have them on board as well. Well, we got a little bit more business to attend to. We do need to clean up some loose ends in this part of the show, even though there's no picks left to make. Let's clean up for the last time this year. Who you got? So there are top 10 picks, and KJ made good time getting out of here because he didn't want to see that record either. BlueCross Bowl was not particularly kind to us.
No, you did well, Chris.
I'm not going to toot my own horn since I didn't quite get well.
Came up a game short, but you did well.
I'm number 2.
Well, the biggest development though, it took me all year to finally get a "told you so." Sorry, East Robertson fans, it came at your expense, but I got one on the last day of the season.
I joke a lot, but shout out to Reggie. 12 told you so's. That's just well done. Well done.
100 100 correct picks for a cat is not bad.
Yeah.
Unreal.
It's better than most. Better than most. Now the overall standings, which is the reason Joe's holding that belt you see on the screen.
I'm number 4. I'm number 4.
The kitchen sink nearly landed. That close.
Boy, it did kill us. It dropped 3 of us below the Mendoza line there of 80%.
Yeah, I said it was not. Uh-oh.
Oh.
Sorry, Lauren. I went with my gut.
You're gonna get a punch in the gut.
Hey Cam.
You very well might. You very well might. Well, let's clean it up. Let's look at these.
We batted well this year, guys.
Oh yeah. I mean, hovering right around the 80% mark all year long. Yeah, it's an improvement over last year, which is a good thing.
Something to shoot for next year.
Yeah, that's final recap.
There's too much red on that.
It's quite the
freaking Visine commercial.
It's quite festive though. And,
you know what? I like it. I like it because it shows that this year's state championships, for the most part, were pretty hard to predict.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. I mean, we talk about a lot of these. When we get to BlueCross Bowl week, usually we know who's going to win, and usually it's not close. But we had a lot of competitive games and a lot of surprises, and that was a good thing, I think.
Most games came down to the fourth quarter, and we don't usually get that.
Mm-hmm.
We usually have like 2 or 3 really good games. There were a lot of one-possession games this week. So,
yeah. Just remind me the next if we cover a Page game next year, Joe, for me to stay kind of away from you.
I will this. Hey, I'm gonna put it out on the table now because I said it to you guys, and I'm gonna keep my promise. I ain't picking against Page next year. Not picking against them.
There you go.
I'll stick to
Lauren. Lauren, screen record that, please.
Stick to it all year.
Yeah.
I ain't picking against Page.
Yeah.
I ain't picking against Page. I ain't picking against Oakland.
You've heard it here first.
He's taking all the drama out of next year already.
There's a lot of red and green on this screen, and it's quite fitting for the season because we're getting toward the holidays, and even though we don't have any more games to pick, we can at least have a little fun with this segment the rest of the way. I decided to go back and look at our picks from this year and see kind of how we did with certain teams. And with the season we're in, we're going to call this the 5 Price Festivus. We have the aluminum bowl, we have the meatloaf, we got the meats of strength. It's time for the airing of grievances. And to do this correctly, we got to point out the teams that messed up our picks all year long. So, without further ado, let us air some grievances with some teams. And we'll start with Scott. Now, these are the teams that you picked who went the wrong way and lost.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a theme here. There's going to be a theme here because Brentwood Academy is going to be prevalent on these lists.
On everyone's.
Yeah. You picked BA 6 times and they lost.
I picked Beach
4 times and they lost. And Father
How many
Ryan,
times has Beach lost 4 times in a season? Is a question.
Right. And then you picked Father Ryan to win 4 times and then they lost those games.
Oh, after that one win, I thought, they're, and then all of a sudden they started circling the drain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My bugaboo was Nashville Christian.
Not even the team you thought it would be.
No. I was surprised by that. When I was going back, I was like, I'm sure Smyrna's going to pop up in this list. It did not.
Because you rotated. Every time they won, you picked against them.
I was off on them all year long, but not in this sense. But Nashville Christian handed me 6 losses this year. BA with 5. Kirkwood with 4. So
well, they got hot and then they fell off there.
When they fell off is kind of when I took a couple of those on the chin.
That's my Father Ryan.
Yeah. Cam had 3 and 5 each. Beach, BA,
Wow.
National. Well, and then Lipscomb Academy gave him 4.
Yeah.
Mm.
Lipscomb Academy gave you a told you so though. So
They did. So
They did.
we're not gonna knock them. Not gonna knock them too much. Joe, yours was BA as well.
Yeah.
With 6, and then Father Ryan and Nashville Christian. See, the usual suspects are on
Yep.
your list.
Yeah.
Your list.
Oh God.
Those are the ones that we tried to back that didn't want to back us. No, it's not Reggie, folks. Going across Joe's screen.
I know. I was looking for Reggie, but he's asleep on the couch.
He doesn't want to be a part of this.
Queen.
And because this was over the full season, not just our show picks, so we just left the 4 of us here. Otherwise, we could have done Reggie and KJ as well. But because this is the airing of grievances, and we have to be fair about this. This part turns from who you got into who got you.
Gotcha.
These are the teams that you picked against that got you and won. I'm going to start with Joe. NBA took you down 4 times.
Yeah.
So did Providence Christian.
Yeah.
James Lawson had 3, and then there were 20 other teams that had 2 each.
Okay.
So
sorry. I gave a couple apologies to NBA, so I'm not shocked.
Well, there are no apologies coming this week. We're not doing that. These are the teams that could air grievances against you.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I know.
So,
or restraining orders.
That's true too.
Wait, so I should be allowed at beach?
Yeah. Hey, see,
exactly.
There you go. There's evidence. There's evidence of that.
Of course, Matt's abandoned us, so he can't say anything.
Right. He's gonna have to watch this and rethink his strategy a little bit.
Traffic to him.
Cam, same culprit. NBA with 3.
Well, we talk about teams that we're going to favor next year, and got a feeling there might be some more NBA picks next year.
Well, here's the thing too. On these lists, you're seeing teams that outperformed what we thought of them or had a pretty good second half.
Yeah.
That's kind of the theme with this particular, that Mount Juliet Christian and Providence Christian. Providence Christian outperformed what we thought they'd do. Mount Juliet Christian did too. And then there were 17 other teams that handed you 2 losses. Providence Christian got me 4 times. CPA's on this list.
Wow.
They are.
Yeah,
but 2 of those came in the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, you picked against them against FRA.
The first time, yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
I also picked I take that back. I did pick against them against FRA twice.
No, you didn't. You didn't in the postseason.
I picked CPA against Pearl.
Oh, yeah.
I picked BA against them in week 1.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to make my comeback, and I had to do something. So
right.
And then of course NBA's there, and then 15 other teams handed me 2 losses too. And I'm making my list, and the naughty list is going to be quite long next year.
Oh, there's a theme.
There is a theme here, Scott. NBA handed you 4 losses, but then Greenbrier handed you 3.
Yeah, they did. And PCA.
Yep. And then 18 others, 2 losses each.
So NBA and PCA made everybody's list look like.
Yes. This PCA outperformed every expectation this year, and then NBA, after their poor start, got red hot there toward the end of the year. So that's our Festivus airing of grievances.
Feats of strength.
Yeah. Feats of strength. Joe, you can carry the belt.
That smug
yeah.
smile on his face.
Okay. All right.
It'll look so good when his belt's taken away from him next year.
like run, guys. I ain't moving up.
Well, I told you in Chattanooga, you're not Roman Reigns, bud.
We'll see.
That's a wrestling reference for those of you who don't know. Evidently, I'm one of those.
Well, seeing as this is our last show, it is that time of the show where we make one final comment or one final acknowledgement before we hit the road. So we're going to do that one last time for this season. But before we do, I do want to remind everybody that we got hoops coverage coming this January, and Joe's been out to a few games already, and the rest of us will be hitting the hardwood with cameras in hand and adding some hoops coverage to our portfolio starting next month after the holidays have wrapped up. So stay tuned for that. Final word for this season, and like we did to start the show, I'm going to give the champ the floor. I'm not going to cut you off this time.
Oh, all right. What a year. First year of 615 Preps was better than I could have imagined. Really appreciate everybody that's jumped on board, followed all of our coverage. You guys are the real MVPs. Couple things, I guess. We make picks just for fun. We're not. We're people need to stop taking these things so personal. These things are picks. We're having fun with them. It is what it is. I enjoyed making picks this year. I enjoyed working with these guys. We got a lot of big things coming. We are growing this thing at an exponential rate, and it's because we have a lot of new followers who love the coverage we do, and we do it because we love doing it. It's fun. I could go on and on. I won't. Stay tuned for basketball. But until then, just remember, I am the champ. I will always be the champ. This is my belt. It's not Cam's, it's not Scott, and it's not Chris's. It's mine. It's going to be mine for a long time. Simple as that. Acknowledge me.
Boy, is that not a cry for validation?
I had to show restraint. I wanted to cut him off so bad. I didn't do it. Didn't do it. I'm being a good boy over here.
And for those of you that don't know, he just did a Roman Reigns reference and returned to me.
Yeah, Cam, why don't you go?
Yeah, just piggybacking off of what Joe said. Huge thank you. This is the best year that we've had as a company. Second year for me with 615 Preps. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Chris, for bringing me on. Definitely enjoy doing this. And, thank you to all of our viewers, because ultimately, without you guys, we don't have a show. And if there's one area that I feel like we can continue to grow at, and that's sponsorship. Because sponsorships is what allows us to keep all of our content free to you guys, unlike a lot of other media outlets. So if you or someone you know has a small business that would like some exposure, we're open to any size sponsorship, small, big, large, and we are starting in January. We're looking for a basketball sponsor to cover our basketball coverage. So you could always email us at 615preps@gmail.com. For those opportunities, and we look forward to working with some of you guys sponsorship wise. And again, a huge thank you. We could not do what we do without you.
It's well said. I mean, it's every bit of it. Definitely looking for some sponsorship partners for not just basketball but girls flag football in the spring, and then it won't be long before we're going to be sitting here in July getting ready for the 2024 season.
That's a good point, Chris. Isn't tomorrow when they're going to discuss whether TSSAA is going to sanction girls?
It is on the agenda. It could get voted on tomorrow.
Flag?
It could get voted on tomorrow, but it is on the agenda, so we'll see.
Okay. At Chattanooga, we got to see some sad moments. We got to see a really great moment. Just watching the pure joy that was the Pearl sideline. And it just reminds me of what high school football is about. It's community. It's belonging to something. These players, there's nothing like it for these players and to win at that level, or to go to battle even at that level. It's different from anything they're going to do because these are kids they probably grew up with. These are their brothers more so than they will be in college, and even if some make it to the pros. It's fortunate for them to be a part of that team. And along the same line, it's fortunate for me to be a part of this team. KJ, Kevin, Calvin, Tom, Cam, Joe, Chris, you guys make it fun to cover high school sports and to talk high school sports. As much as we're on this, we're texting each other back and forth and keeping up with stuff, and that's what keeps us going. Is what keeps us young, what keeps us involved, and we can't do that without you either. And those of you that have called, commented, talked to us at games, you guys keep us going, and for that, I'm incredibly grateful. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful holiday season and enjoy your family.
Yeah, you should really see the phones blow up when the back and forth starts going. It's, the battery life doesn't last very long nowadays when we start getting on these long conversations in text messages. It's quite a thing to see, but
makes staff meetings fun.
Yeah.
Staff meeting every day on the phones.
Yeah. Just real quick, we talked about the texting back and forth in the staff meetings. We have awards coming as well here soon, so be on the lookout for those.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Here we are, the end of the year, on a long, strange but fun year that it was. Started way back in August with, unfortunately, I hate to make mention of it, but of course Scott's White and F was injured on the very first night of the season, and that set off a wild set of events for the 2023 season for us. That it forced everybody to kind of come together and do some different things. And I think as a group, we all got better as a result of it. Not to make any light of anything that happens physically, because she's obviously a tough person, and glad that she's recovering. And I guess what I'm really trying to say here is that this has been a weird year, not just for me personally, but professionally as well. I actually lost my job in August, and I've been looking for one ever since. I don't tell people that a lot, but it's kind of important to put that out there. That what I wanted to do was kind of put my head down and go to work with these guys because, well, I wanted to. Now, they make it worth the effort to put out there a good product that I hope you all enjoy and something that we can be proud of. I will find another opportunity as sure as I'm sitting here, because I have to. We can't have 615 preps without some of the money that we put up to start this thing. But what I hope happens for this group, and it's a great group to work with, is that we can continue the momentum that we built this year and go into 2024 stronger and better, and hopefully just keep on going forward and doing good things, because it's been a fun ride with this group. But we can't do it without you. We can't do it without sponsors. We can't do it without each other. And all I can really say is, for all of us here at 615 Preps, thank you so much for all of you watching tonight, all of you that have been following on social media throughout the year, all of you who come up at us in games and say hello and joke around about Reggie or my kitchen sink last week that just about landed me a championship. But it's all fun. Love it. Wouldn't want any other way. And for 2024, we want more of the same. So spread the word. Make sure that you're watching out for content from us almost now on a daily basis. And I got to say thank you to Joe Spears, because without his hard work, what we've done this year isn't possible. He's come on and brought us to another level. Cam in his second year got even better. He's providing more insight that we didn't have before. Of course, obviously the comedic foil to Joe as well. And Who doesn't like that? Scott, you and I brought this thing up 5 years ago, and we didn't imagine it being like this, but here we are 5 years in, and we're talking about hopefully not paying taxes next year, which is a good thing. But all of this is
You said the quiet part out loud.
I know, right? Spoiler alert, maybe a new podcast coming. I don't know. We'll see. But I've been long-winded. I'm usually not, but I wanted to say this because this is the last time this year we'll get to do this. And it won't be long before July comes around and we're back out at practice again in 105-degree heat, waiting for these teams to get ready to kick off the 2024 season. But before then, hopefully, we will have some more sponsors, maybe some new faces around here. Never know. And until then, to each and every one of you, have a great holiday season. Thank you so much for joining us. And for all of us here at 615 Prefs, from KJ, for Calvin, for Kevin, Cam, Joe, who's still patting the belt, Scott, I'm Chris Brooks. Thank you so much. Have a great holiday season. We will talk to you again soon. And until then, enjoy yourselves and your families. Thanks.
Just
see you next
get
year.
here when you can, Matt.
Get to basketball.